wipes Lewis Brown.
And historic hat-trick for Portek and Luke Browning here at Alton Park.
Round the outside is going to be a virtual dead heat between the two of them. Jordan Witt has his nose in front. Here comes Gelzinis, who I think was just ahead. Gelzinis takes the place on the championship by 37 thousandths of a second.
And Ben Green's going to take his first double win. The Century team are delighted.
Oh, then sideways, completely sideways, gets it back together, holds it. What a save by Plato.
But John Cleland is attacking Soper. He's up on two wheels. He attacks again as they go to the right-hander and Love Hill. And they both spin. They're both out. Soper and Cleland both out of the race.
Hello everybody, welcome to episode 1 of The Undercut, the Downforce Radio official podcast for all things Toka. I'm Jake Sanson, he's Paul O'Neill. How you doing, Paul? How are things?
I'm good, thanks, fella. Yeah, no, I'm all right. Well, I'll cut a long story short. I'm actually very tired today. Been out on my bike. So, yeah, just still cycling along and trying to keep fit, but also training for a charity bike ride. 125 miles in July. That'll be lovely in one day. Yeah, so that's cool. But going back to motorsport, Jake, it's I'm just so excited, mate. We got touring cars coming up at Thruxton for round 1 and also the Toka support rounds that go with it. And I'm just so made up, mate, that there's such variety. There's been a lot of swapping around in the teams, but not just that. I've seen some of the entry lists now, and it looks so strong. And, thank goodness the pandemic hasn't decimated our beloved UK motorsport. So yeah, everything's been difficult, isn't it, mate? But this is something to really look forward to. And the roadmap now, as we come out of hopefully what's happening and head towards some normality, it's going hand in hand with British motorsport. So fingers crossed, mate, we have a fantastic year.
I'm sure we will do. It looks fantastic, and the powers that be and Mr. Gow and everybody behind the scenes looks like they've brought together an amazing 2021 season. I can't wait to get started. You were at the media day at Silverstone, running around, freezing cold, desperately grabbing some brilliant interviews for us, and everybody seemed like they were pretty upbeat about the season ahead.
Yeah, they did, didn't they? I was, I went. It was weird, when you, as a pundit, because I'd not actually seen, honestly, I'd not seen some of those people since October 2019. I think that's right, isn't it?
Wow.
So, yeah. So, some of them I'd kind of worked a bit with in 2020, but some of them I'd not seen since the last round of 2019. So, I see them virtually maybe, but when I walk down the pit lane and honestly, mate, I was panicking because I was getting interviews, obviously, for Downforce Radio. I was panicking because I knew the show was on and I was having to send them to you. And I was thinking, I better get these done. But everybody was, do you know what? It's all, like the first day at school, everyone looks prim and proper. Everyone's clean. Everyone's just mad to be there. And everyone's just so excited. So it was great to feel that air of anticipation, with new cars rolling out, but also just how the drivers themselves looked so, enthusiastic about the year ahead. And I think they know that this is a big year because it'd be the last year of, turbocharged engines or internal combustion engines on their own. It'll be hybrid next year. So it was cool, mate. And got some good interviews and we got to speak to some great people. And, shout out to those people, Jake, because a lot of them are just so busy. It wasn't a media day, really. It was a test day and it was a free-for-all. Can you get a driver here or there? And it just shows how much respect that they've got for the press that you could collar a lot of the guys and girls there. So it was cool, mate, yeah.
We really did get some big stars. Let's jump straight in with one of them. You managed to catch up with Tom Ingram, so let's hear what he had to say.
So, Tom, new car this year, all looking good. Testing already at Silverstone. Looks pretty cool, mate. You look excited to get out in the car because I'm kind of stopping you.
Yeah, absolutely. The car feels fantastic, actually. I've been really, really impressed. Obviously, we've changed from 7 years with the 7 years of the Toyota, now changing to our Hyundai. So, yeah, there's a few changes, but the car feels fantastic. I'm really impressed. I've got Spencer, who's my engineer at Speedworks. I've got Spencer along with me. So we're kind of working through a bit of a methodical plan in terms of what we're improving on the car. But generally, it feels really, really good.
The biggest difference between the Toyota and the Hyundai?
I think in body shape makes a big difference, so we can start to see that. But Wheelbase is all very similar. Overhangs are very similar. There's a little bit more weight across the rear of the car, but actually they feel very similar, actually. Very, very similar, which from my point of view is actually a good thing.
Top man, I'll let you go. Good luck. Be fast.
Perfect. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, so Tom Ingram has not only switched teams, but has also switched brands. No Toyota. He's now in Hyundai. He looks pretty quick, though.
Yeah, do you know, I think there's too many people who are quick to say that Tom's going to struggle in that car. I was on the fence with it. I was thinking that in the first 3 weekends, it really isn't going to attack the podium on the normal grid situation, as in round 1 and round 2. It'll have a very, very good chance of a win or a podium on a reverse grid with Tom in it, especially. But Chris Smiley did the business on its debut. I think he ended up with a P2 or a 3 at the first round we had. So for me, watching him and watching what he's been doing and knowing how he and Spenny operate, his engineer, I am sure that they are not looking fast for a bit of a giggle. They are going to be doing proper protocol in testing, which is usually, backing off the engine power, sticking 1,000 kilos of lead in it and sandbagging. So they'll be doing exactly what they did at Speedworks. And for them to be up there in the times in media day and on other test days, I think Tom knows. And I know a couple of people in that team who have said he's going to be quick. So I'm kind of thinking, can he push for the title? It would be unreal if Tom could do that with such a new team who seem to be operating from the outside fantastically. So, yeah, going to be very interesting. And Accelerate could find themselves winning quite a few races this year.
I think there's a very good chance of it. You also managed to catch up with the team principal at Power Maxed Car Care Racing, Adam Weaver. Let's hear what he had to say.
Adam, good to be back. Jason Plato and Dan Lloyd doing pretty well on not great tyres, I'm hearing. So, but good to be back, mate.
Yeah, we're really happy with the way things are going. We've had a couple of great tests at the start of the season already. Still a lot more to do today here at Media Day. So we look forward to putting on the new tyres this afternoon and hopefully showing what the cars are capable of.
A lot of the teams last year were racing. You were kind of bit part, but there was a good situation with that though for you guys, wasn't there?
Yeah, lots of people keep commenting things like, are the cars going to be quick, seeing as they've not had a year racing? But whilst all the other teams were focused on getting to the track and racing, and it was a very, very tight schedule, our computers have never been off. We've been doing a lot of design and development work, lots of CFD. We haven't laid anyone off during that period. We've furloughed some staff, but only for a really short period of time, and then got them back in because we've got so much to do. And, Mike Bushell jumped in the car first time ever at Oldham Park, and I'm sure you saw, he was always in the top 5 fastest all weekend, very often much higher than that. But unfortunately, it was always on the wrong part of the track. So he had a couple of issues, but the car was fast, and we've done so much development work on the car. Jason's in a brand new shell. We've done lots of development work to the shells, and Jason's was a brand new one, and then the others have been updated. So we're really confident about this year.
Strong driver pairing, Dan Lloyd and Jason Plato. They're looking good.
Yeah, very strong, very strong. I mean, Jason jumped straight in the car first test and Donington, and was setting extremely competitive times that Dan couldn't quite get to. Dan's in for the whole year. That's the other thing that people keep commenting on, that I want to kind of stress, that the deal that's been done with Dan, there is absolutely no way that the guy is not with us for the whole year. So it'll be his first full year in BTCC, and I genuinely believe he's got a lot to show people.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be a big year for the Power Max Car Care team, isn't it? Because Adam Weaver is looking very confident, very motivated, and the package already looks quite strong.
Yeah, it does. And, you can tell from that interview there that Adam pulled no punches, because he was sick of the same question, especially from me saying, you've got no chance, mate, because you haven't been testing, or you haven't had, any person in the car that knew really what a touring car should be like. Only Rob Austin, who'd come out for Thruxton, who did really well, actually. But Jade Edwards, Jess Hawkins, these kind of people, they were just in and out the car. It was... They had to go on a bit of a whim, but he was very right in what he said, and he said, well, we've been testing, we've not stopped developing the car, and that, like you say, Jay, it's shown in the testing, because Plato and Dan Lloyd, who I think is seriously underrated, those two drivers have been really, really quick in testing, and they were both in the top 10 for the media day. And again, Plato he's going to be definitely strong and looking forward to the year, but Dan Lloyd will push him all the way. But he looks like he should be on Love Island, to be fair, Dan Lloyd. And I know Plato is feeling the heat from them good looks. He won't want to be beaten by a young lad again. So yeah, he'll be going.
There you go. Dan Lloyd auditioning for the next series of Love Island. You heard it here first. You mentioned Jade Edwards, so I think we should catch up with her. She was looking pretty excited about things. So let's hear from Jade Edwards.
Jade Edwards. Very noisy in here. Amazing. Honda, BTC. Looking forward to it. You're looking trim.
Yeah, I've got a PT for the first time ever, so I've actually done some exercise over the winter. But yeah, it's been a good day so far. I've only been in the car once before today, so I felt a little bit on the back foot when I got here this morning. But actually, the boys have obviously built a brilliant car. I love this circuit, and at the lunchtime point, I'm in a very happy, positive position.
How hard has it been to get the deal together?
Yeah, crazy. I mean, I think if I hadn't raced at Silverstone for that one-off event last year, I'd never be sat here today. And I have to also give massive credit to Steve Dubman. He promised me that he would keep me at the top of a list, of drivers that he wants in the team, and he's stayed true to his word, and here I am. So between my loyal sponsors and Steve Dudman himself, we brought the deal together, and it's not been the easiest off-season, but we made it, and we're here for a full year.
People on Downforce Radio won't be able to see this, but you've got your hat on back to front like Michael Crease. Talk me through that.
Well, basically, because I've got massive lion hair, the start of the day I don't have a hat on at all, and then I put my crash helmet on and it goes a bit wild. So we've gone for backwards hat approach. Josh also wears backwards hats, and so does Creasy. So we're going to start a band, and I think it's going to be brilliant.
Amazing. Well, listen, I will let you crack on, but from everybody at Downforce and everyone in the UK, we really want you to do well.
Thanks, Zoe.
So yeah, Jade Edwards at BTC Racing and a full-time campaign. That's a big deal, isn't it, Paul? Because that's the first time we've had a full-time female racer in the British Touring Car Championship, probably since Fiona Legate back in your days.
Yeah, I would say it was probably, Fiona Legate was probably the last lady to be driving in British Touring Cars, and I think that must have been 2006, because she didn't quite make the end of 2006 for budget reasons, and I ended up having to take the car on for the last two rounds with tech speed. But yeah, she's the real deal, Jade. Jade's a good friend of mine, and it's easy to be too nice to Jade. But honestly, I think the big surprises of this year, one of them lays with Jade Edwards, because she is fast enough to be there. And I know, speaking to Josh Cook and a couple of other of the teams, she just needs time. I think you'll just have to scrub the first round. You'll have to just scrub that. The first round at Thruxton for the newbies will be so difficult. Jade will be where she isn't going to be for the rest of the year. It'll just be a test session for Jade, because you have to be at one with those cars. And be an experienced driver, in my opinion, to drive Thruxton flat out and be up the front. So yeah, Jade will be looking to just be in the teens, to be honest, for the first weekend. But after that, I think she will be quite hot, quite hot to trot. It's going to be very interesting to see how she gets on. And I'm fingers crossed for me, because she's such a good woman and great for women in motorsport, that she'll be right at the sharp end at the mid to the end of the year.
And it's another dynasty that's carrying on, of course, because her dad was in British Touring Cars in 2001. So it's nice to keep that sort of dynasty going in the sport. We talked about the newbies. Let's hear from another one of them, Rick Parfitt Jr.
Rick Parfitt Jr., oh my word, you're in British Touring Cars. I bet you can't believe it. Yeah, bit different than a GT3 car, mate.
Yeah, very, very hugely so. In fact, I've just been out for my second run, my first proper run around Silverstone. I'm driving it completely like a downforce car, so much so I'm actually braking 20 metres later than Ingram into turn one, which everyone said that's heroing, but naturally my mid-corner is just way off because I've got no downforce to carry me through. So having a lot of fun and really enjoying learning. And it's nice to see that I was fully expecting to be, so much slower than everyone, but I'm in the ballpark, which is great. We're way exceeding where I thought I would be.
And like you say, a big dream for you, mate. You're a champion in British GT, but you love a bit of rock and roll, and Downforce Radio plays tunes, so it's a nice little tie-up, isn't it?
Do they? Can I make a request? Okay, I want Thunderstruck by AC/DC, and if it can coincide with my qualifying session, that would be perfect, because that'll definitely be worth about 3/10.
I think we could put in a request, actually, to Mike Reed, so apparently you know him as well.
Yes, he knew my dad and my mum. So Mike, if you're listening, it's been a while. Are you still living in Cranley near Holmbury St Mary? Anyway, there you go. And he used to have a really nice white Mercedes Pagoda SL, I seem to remember, which was lovely as well. Anyway, we digress. This is possibly the most boring interview ever in the history of the world. What else can we chat about? Skies blue, trees, birds, etc.
You're going to do a bit of data now, then.
Yeah, I'm really bad at data. I'm like the traditional, musician. I want to go in and perform in front of thousands of people, but I can't be bothered to go and rehearse. So but it's a necessary evil. And to be honest, it's quite funny, because my data is so ridiculous in comparison to everyone else at the moment. It's just such a different style, which I need to peg right back. But it's quite nice. I mean, hey, if I need to break earlier, that's a good thing. That's easily remedied. Usually it's breaking later that's the issue. So if I need to break earlier and carry my mids, then that's a good clear instruction, isn't it?
Well, that's how I used to get on anyway, mate, so I'm sure you'll be fine, no fella. Listen, I'll let you go. All the best, and it's going to be a great season.
Thanks, brother.
So Rick Parfitt Jr., he's going to add something very different to the sport in 2021, Paul, none the least because, of course, as he mentioned, he's been a GT driver, so it's a bit like going back to school for him in a way, isn't it?
It is, and, Rick is a very good friend of mine, and he's spoken to a lot of the touring car drivers and really, they've all put an arm around him and said, it'll be absolutely fine, mate, don't worry about it. And I think Rick will be absolutely fine. When he finds his feet, he'll be on it. But you've got to remember, he's come from something that's, so much faster, so much more downforce, so many electronic gizmos, traction control, rear wheel drive, ABS, and 12 different settings usually of ABS and 12 different settings of traction control. In the touring car, it's very agricultural. So it's probably like coming from F1 and then going into an Indy car, because they're quite draconian Indy cars compared to an F1 car, because they don't have all of those different electronical aids and things like that in the Indy car. So it's a very pure formula, British touring cars, but he's starting to get it. But I just think that Thruxton will be, again, a person like Jade Edwards. Just do not judge Rick Parfitt on your first sight of him at Thruxton. I've told him to finish every single lap that he drives around Thruxton and just take it away with him and get to the next circuit. Because what happens is, Jake, is if you're not too sure about front wheel drive and you don't know how much you can really lean on a car, you go to a place like Thruxton where the circuit asks 100% of the car and you're only at 80%. You will just have the horriblest time you've ever had in your life. I've been there before. I've driven that circuit in different touring cars that I've just jumped into and not had a test. And it's just, honestly, the worst experience of your life, because the car's hopping and skipping and you just don't know when you can get out of the throttle, or keep the throttle on, because as soon as you're out of the power, you just lose so much time. And it's battling against that. And sometimes you see people overstep the limit for that extra 0.3 around there and they just have a huge accident. So you've got to just watch what you're doing. And Rick's not stupid, but he's very much looking forward to it. He was the most excited out of everybody I interviewed, I think. And he's a great addition, Jake, because he's a lovely, lovely guy. I love him to bits, and I really do hope he has a great season with Accelerate.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the Touring Car Championship, as we all know, is about characters. And Rick is definitely going to be a great addition to that paddock for many different reasons, none the least of which is on track. He is a fabulous, fabulous driver. Two cheeky monkeys that you managed to catch up with in the same morning. They are going to be like chalk and cheese all season long, aren't they? Aiden Moffat and Ash Sutton. What are those pesky scamps up to, I wonder?
The boys from Laser Tools Racing, the champion Ash Sutton and Aiden Moffat is next to me, multiple race winner. Ash, firstly, it's going to be a good year, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be spicy. Big old shake up behind the grid. Different drivers, different cars, and yeah, I don't want to let that title slip, but it's not going to be easy to retain it.
Is there anyone on the grid that you are looking forward to really battling hard with? Do you want to fire Shedden off?
I'd love to. I think I own one. I've got to look back at through something. There's got to be something out there. I think I do own one somewhere.
And if you don't do it, then Aiden Moffat probably will. Aiden, strong year last year, mate. Got to build on it again.
Was it? Yeah, I mean, that was... Although we had that half a season in the old spec Infinity, it's still learning a lot about the rear-wheel drive. It's not something I've done a lot of. So it's... Yeah, every time I went out, I was just learning more and more, and hopefully this year I can be somewhere in the same half a lap as Ash. It'd be nice to get up to that sharp end and just keep on working our way forward. We had a good end to the year, and hopefully that's where we pick up from.
It's like the best interview I've ever done, this. Ash, lastly, can you see BMW coming back really strong? And also Honda have got to be there as well. Everyone's got to be there, haven't they?
Yeah, everyone's got to be there, but for sure we're not going to make it easy for them. But yeah, you got a few, like I said, you got the Vauxhalls back. Honda's going to be there with Shedden. The BMW's going to be there, but we'll be doing our best as well.
Top work. Good luck, lads.
Do you know, I was trying to think of a better teammate combination in motorsport than Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz in Formula One. I have a feeling Moffat and Sutton, they are actually a pair of proper cheeky scamps. I've got the feeling that when the cameras go off and they go back to their hotel at night, the bants are just legendary off the chart.
Yeah, do you know, I know them two very well, and I love them both for different reasons. And the great thing is with those two, I was kicking about outside the Laser Tools garage, hoping to speak to Ash, and Aiden would have been a bonus. But Aiden come and sat next to me because Ash was busy. And then I was on the back of the low loader, actually. And so Ash was busy, but he come and sat with us as well. So we're all socially distanced, having a bit of a chat offline. And I'll be honest with you, I could have switched that microphone on any time, and it would have been the same interview.
Yeah,
because it was just a chat. The lads were on top form. They were taking the mickey out of each other, and they do. You're dead right. They're very much like Lando and Carlos were, and you know, Ash is so comfortable in his own skin, and he knows how fast he is. You know, he just gets on with the job in hand. So Ash is going to be just lightningly quick again. You know, a second year in a car that he didn't have much testing at all in last year. He really didn't. This year he'll be stronger for me because he's had like 6 test days when they get to the first round of the year. And Aiden will learn off him. And Aiden is, you know, a very much, he knows he's not going to be as fast as Ash every day of the week, but he can learn so much off Ash. And I think that they work great together. They really do. And we're so lucky to have great drivers and fantastic personalities in that show, because it is a show and it needs youngsters like that, and you know, especially good-looking ones that bring people to the show as well. They all love Aiden. I mean, he's got like 1 million followers, and
he does.
I don't know how he's done that. You know what I mean? It's like, grow up, mate. I'm funnier than him, and he's got loads more followers than me. Great people, absolutely.
Maybe the ratio for attractive Scotsmen is higher than attractive Liverpudlians. I don't know how social media works. So there you go. But no, Ash Sutton, you're absolutely right. For me, he is one of the pound for pound most talented racing drivers we have in Britain, never mind in the British Touring Car Championships. I mean, he came to Le Mans 2 years ago at the Miami World Series International Final karting event. He'd never sat in a gearbox kart before. On the Tuesday prior to the event, he went and won the whole thing. You know, he won the title. And nobody really knows he did that. That was completely under the radar. And he won a world karting title. That is absolutely astonishing. He is such a gifted racing driver. And British Touring Cars is so lucky to have him. Speaking of legendary touring car drivers, you managed to catch up with a man who's trying to break a record this year and basically become the most successful British Touring Car Championship driver of all time in terms of titles. Colin Turkington.
Colin Turkington, 3-time champ. Every time I see you, mate, I ask you the same question. I'm not going to. Actually, no, I am. Can you be the 4-time champ?
I already am.
5-time?
That sounds better. Yeah, I'm buzzing for the season. Buzzing to get going again. It's, we had a great 2020 and, just so happy to be back in BTCC with the 3 Series BMW. And I've got a great chance. That's all you can do is get yourself in a top car with a top team and, fate deals its hand. But, I'm energised, I'm hungry and, ready to fight for wins.
Usually, mate, people talk about drivers and cars and how they think people are going to get on. All I've heard about you up and down the paddock is how well you look and how chipper you are, mate.
Well, I've been for a spray tan and some Botox. No, okay, 5 minutes. It's obviously I've tried to look after myself over the off season. You've got a short window to rebuild yourself to get ready to fight again in BTCC. It's a tough season. It's intense and for sure it can break you towards the end. So I know how important it is to look after myself as I approach my 40th birthday. So I'll try to invest back into myself and be ready to go again. And I feel good.
You're a top man. I'll leave it there, mate, because I know you just got a 5-minute call to get back in the car, so good luck.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, what is the buzz around Colin Turkington? He genuinely looks fresh as a daisy this year. He looks 10 years younger from what people have been telling me.
Yeah, it was weird, speaking. I know Colin very well, very, very well. And it wasn't even from last year. It was from... I did some filming with BMW, just interviewing them and having a live reveal. And even then, the change from Colin to the media day was bizarre. Like, it was as if West Surrey had told him he's going to have an extra 100 horsepower for this year. It was that interesting. He was that enthusiastic, and he was... You could just see him, when someone knows they've got a chance. He was exactly like that. When you see someone's got like a little glint in their eye, and they know they've got a chance. It was that, and he was on top form. Because Colin is, people don't know this, but Colin is one of the funniest and quickest witted people I know. But he hardly ever shows it. Yeah, he hardly ever shows it, and he really. Not let his guard down, but was just having the crack with me. And I spoke to his wife as well, Louise. And, a lot of people don't realise Louise has put a lot of time and effort and great things into Colin. And it was interesting to see those two both, how they operated together over the years. I know Louise has now moved on to work for, I think it's Porsche in the Carrera Cup GB. So yeah, be interested to see how Colin gets on actually, Jake, without Louise right by his side at the whole race weekend.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting development. You said you spoke to Louise. I don't think we could carry on with the fans wanting to know what was said in that interview without us playing it. So here is Louise Turkington.
Louise Turkington, more than the wife of 4-time champ Colin Turkington. Tell us about yourself. What are you doing? What's going on?
I'm more than a wife, so that's a start.
It's quite disrespectful, actually. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean that.
It's the funniest part of any interview is when people ask me how I want to be introduced, and you took it to a new level. So, yes, I'm great, and I'm even more excited because you've told me that the rumour mill up and down the paddock is that Colin is looking A-class, and I couldn't agree more.
See, you're a professional then, because if I was his wife, I'd be fuming if someone had been saying that about him.
He knows what side his bread is buttered on, Paul. I dare you.
He definitely knows the score, doesn't he? But he does look good, and as a pundit's point of view, he looks good, he's chipper. That's half the battle, isn't it? And I know you work with him on that kind of situation.
Well, the most important thing for any driver, forget about your pre-season testing, forget about any advances that have been made in the car. You need to come back, you need to step through the gates here today improved. You need to step back in here today ready to sustain your performance the whole way through the year. And we've had a huge personal battle with Colin's health since 2014, and that opened up our minds to the margins that you can find within a driver, because at that point, those margins were the only thing that got Colin in the car. So when you can find those margins when you're down that low, imagine the potential of those margins that you can find when you're in a much better position within your health. So to see Colin looking so chirper and in fantastic shape, that makes me feel like all of our lifestyle choices and our sacrifices and our commitment, I suppose, to his performance has paid off.
And especially with your competitors seeing that as well, that's half the battle in the mind game against them, I suppose, as well.
Well, you're trying to do everything better than everybody else, and you're also trying to improve yourself than the year before. So if they know what the 2020 version of Colin was capable of, if we roll him out as an improved shape and form for 2021, well then, yeah, of course, that's going to hopefully rattle a few.
Well, I'm just a pundit, Louise, and I'm pretty scared.
You don't have to be, Paul.
Good. Thanks, Louise.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Louise, she's just such a fabulous sport, and you were running the gauntlet there a little bit with Louise, but thank goodness you two are mates. That's all I can say. Thank goodness you two actually get on.
Oh, do you know what? I'm so comfortable around Louise, and some people aren't, because she is a very tough cookie.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, and she has every right to have that status as well, because she's done a lot of amazing things in her own personal career, but she just, yeah, I didn't start that interview brilliantly, did I?
I think you're forgiven.
Yeah. Between me, you, and Downforce Radio, mate, I've had some massive nights out with Louise, because Colin doesn't really drink, so I always end up just having to look after Louise, and we just get battered at Goodwood, and we just have a crack. So I get away with murder, but yeah, she's quick enough to give as good as she gets, mate. So I wasn't so worried about what she was going to say.
Excellent to hear. Good stuff. Right, now, obviously, two of the biggest names in the British Touring Car Championship. We couldn't really do our first episode justice without hearing from the two household names of the sport. They're going to have very different years, though, in 2021. First of all, we speak to the man who's going to miss his first British Touring Car season on track for the first time since 1991, his first season, Matt Neal.
Matt Neal, always ask this question, mate. You're not driving. How's it going to be?
I thought you were going to ask me for my favourite teammate, which must be 2002 in egg cars. It's going to be different this year, obviously. First year in 30 years, I won't be taking the first race of a British Touring Car Championship, so it's going to be quite surreal. It's okay at the minute. It might be quite different when we get to round one and I hear the engines all roar at that first race.
I've just seen you being interviewed by ITV, and there was a little snippet about Murray Walker. A massive loss, Murray was, and we don't talk about him enough, actually. And how big of a loss is he to the world of motorsport?
Yeah, it's not just British motorsport, it's the world of motorsport. His voice was iconic, and what a gentleman he was. He was the consummate professional and an absolute gentleman with it. And he, we all used to laugh and joke about his Murrayisms, his mistakes and everything, but they were deliberate. He did his homework. I mean, if you've ever been in one of the commentary booths with him, everything, he had notes everywhere. And you've done commentary and you've got so many voices in your ears. And so actually on the live stuff, some of the mistakes were other people's mistakes. But Murray being the gentleman he was, he always took it on the chin and embraced it all. So he was, I feel privileged to have known him.
Last thing, your two guys, Dan Rowbottom and Gordon Shedden, chance to win the title? Definitely? Maybe?
Who knows? I still think it's stacked a bit in the rear-wheel drive's favour, but Flash has gone really well in testing, and Dan's done a really solid job. So the car's run well, the car's working well on the tyres, the engines are going well at the minute, so we got to keep our head down and see what we get at the first race when everyone gets their weight out and pulls the pants up and sees how they go.
Top man.
This is going to be such a strange season, isn't it? BTCC 2021 without Matt Neal. As far as I'm concerned, and I've been watching British Touring Cars since 1992, the British Touring Car Championship and Matt Neal, it's a bit like taking cocoa out of a chocolate bar. It's not really the same thing. Is it going to be the same without him?
This is a difficult question, Jake, to be honest, mate. I think what we've got to do is look at how the championship operated without Jason Plato.
Yeah.
And there were so many other stories that, become apparent that, throughout last year, that I've got to say, I know he's been in it a long time. He jumped out of his seat at 2001 for Peugeot, I remember, because I was in it in a Class B car, and he fell out of love with the team that he was with. And yeah, that was one of the first times I'd not seen Matt in the championship, because I watched it like you did as a fan. And then the thing I find interesting is that we're going to have 2 years now where there's not a Jason Plato versus Matt Neal.
Yeah.
Because obviously Jason wasn't there last year and Matt isn't going to be there this year. I don't think, but you never know, do you, with recent developments. But I don't, the fans, touring car fans are interesting. It's a demographic full of people who just have attention. They show just attention to the thing that's in front of them. And that's why British Touring Cars is so successful, because it's 3 races, bang, 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 reverse grids, ballast, different tyres. And I just think that in touring cars, people, they watch it just for the moment. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's entertainment. So I don't think, and I'm not saying he's not going to be missed, I'm just saying that there's enough stories there, Jake, that I don't think, it won't be talked about forever. But me as a fan and you as a fan will miss him dearly, because we've watched it since the mid-90s and early 90s. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to get across. Matt's a very good friend of mine, and I'm the first person to say, and he's helped me massively. We've had fallouts and everything in racing, but he's one of the only drivers on the grid that I asked him if he knew any sponsors, and this is like, I'm just telling you how it was. I asked him if he knew any sponsors to get me into racing in 2006, to get me back into it.
Yeah.
And he got me 2 sponsors. One was Fujifilm and one was TomTom. And he didn't want anything back from it.
Wow.
He just said, just race on that, mate. That's yours. And never asked me another question. Didn't want a favour. He didn't even need to do that for me, mate.
No, indeed.
He did. And he single-handedly got me back racing with Tech Speed in the Astra. It was a bioethanol car, I think. So a lot of time for Matt, a lot of respect for him. It'll be interesting to see if we ever see him come back, mate. And that's me being very, very honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I absolutely adore him. And I've had some of my greatest nights at Eurosport with Matt Neal doing the World Touring Car comms. I mean, the guy is so good at putting people at their ease. I was nervous as hell beside him for the Macau Grand Prix. I mean, that's Matt flipping Neal, and I'm sat next to for the commentary. How on earth do you cope with that when you've been watching him since you were a kid? And Friday morning, midnight, he comes in, happy as Larry, says, "Hi, Jake. Hi, Matt. Do you want a beer?" What? Do you want a beer? We're about to go on air. Went, of course we are. Let's go. Come on, let's have a couple of beers. And do you know what? It worked. It genuinely worked. It chilled us both out, and we had the best darn time. It was so much fun. The guy is to touring car comms what James Hunt was to Formula One. He just says it. He just says what he thinks, and the fans love it. And I absolutely adore him for that. He never pulls any punches. He's what the fans crave, and he's definitely going to be missed on track. But he could easily slip into that commentary role beside David Addison if he really wanted to, if he could mud wrestle Tim Harvey to the ground to take it off him. But it's going to be so much fun to see what he does.
I'd definitely pay to see that wrestling match.
Yeah, I would as well. I think we all would. Speaking of wrestling matches, you did manage to catch up with one superstar towards the end of Media Day. We couldn't let this one slide. This is the one that didn't get aired, actually. I've had to edit it a little bit, naturally. It's the man himself, Jason Plato. And I have to say, he is sounding like a spring chicken.
JP, take 2. Hair was looking good a minute ago. You just showed me your hair, mate. Is that still lockdown haircut?
Yeah, I'm determined not to change it. I mean, I'm convinced, and I've got every good reason to believe this. So, and I do believe it. As each day goes on, I am getting more and more alike with Matthew McConaughey. I do. I mean, can you not see?
Out of Dallas Buyers Club.
Can you not see it?
Not at all, mate, no.
Have a couple of G&Ts and you'll start seeing what I see.
A whole bottle of it.
Do you know what? I know this is me Barnet. I'm just, I mean, I know. And I have thought about this, to be honest. After a race, and I take my hat off, my helmet off, it's going to look a bit shit in there. Do you know what I mean?
What does Soph, the missus, think about the haircut, mate?
She likes it. I mean, I took the beard off the other day and she said, what have you done that for? It's because you took the mick out of me. Said I look like Father Christmas. That's why I take it off. So I quite liked it. Put it back. Okay, I'll just wait another 3 months until it grows.
So that worked well for you,
mate.
mate?
You know what? Yeah, I prefer being clean shaven. I feel cleaner.
15 minutes left session.
Are we ready to go? Okay.
Right. Quick. So, sorry. Last question, mate. You've got to go in the car. It's going all right. You're in top 4. Good year ahead?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it feels good in the car. I feel fresh. I'm not making too many mistakes, although I'm making a couple, just tiny little things. But that's just because I'm a bit rusty. But yeah, I feel good. I'm pretty confident we'll be competitive, and if I'm competitive, then I'll be having a bit of action.
Top man, good to be back though.
It's great. It's great.
Amazing. Thanks, JP.
There you go. I am never going to reveal what was actually said that we had to censor and delete at the end there. Let's just say that's between you, me, and Mr. P. Absolutely fabulous. But look, he's sounding like this is his first year back in the car after a decade, never mind a year out. He's so excited, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think that what we got with Jason at Media Day was the fact that he was back. And like you said, the interview, that was the second take, if I'm honest with you.
That doesn't surprise me at all, actually.
I was like, Jason, we can't air that, mate. That's never. So, but that's the Jason that we know, and that's the Jason that we love.
Yeah.
The guy that sticks his 2 fingers up on a live ITV camera. The guy that will say something not even so close to the bone. It's actually it's gone through the bone, and the bone's now snapped in half.
Yeah.
But people love him for it, and he's not a midfield racer. He's a 90+ race win double champion. He's brilliant, and I think what you've seen from him on the media day and the interviews he did, it's someone that knows he's got a chance of winning.
Yeah,
maybe that 100th race. He's that guy. He knows he's a bit. He reminds me of Giovanardi.
Yeah,
when he's got a sniff, he's unbeatable, and he's still got it, Jason. And I know he had a bad time with the BMR team and Subaru and Ash Sutton, winning the title there. And I just think that Jason knows that he's got a great team around him. He's got a great chance, and he really likes Dan Lloyd by the sounds of it. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the pandemic and time off has done for Jason, because he's been nothing but chipper when I've spoken to him. So yeah, fingers crossed we get the old Jason back, and I'd love to see him still up the front and really just bossing that front 6 around and maybe getting fully involved and giving us something to talk about, and some of the internet warriors something to fire into on Twitter and stuff.
Too right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is the thing with Jason, isn't it? You love to hate him, you hate to love him. And that's what the whole purpose of him in the championship is. And it would be poorer without him in it. We've got Thruxton as the first round of the championship. That is going to be a tough circuit for the season to go to. It's the fastest circuit in Britain, of course. And it's definitely going to be a tough one for the rookies to cope with, flat on the throttle for the majority of their races. Who's your pick for Thruxton? Who do you think is going to be best prepared to deal with it?
I think there's a lot of very, very good cars, and it's always seemed to have been a Honda track lately. I remember when I was racing, it was always a Vauxhall track, and we just used to have lockouts all the time whenever we went there. But for me, I think you're going to see a fight. For me, Shedden, I think, will be on fire around there. And I do think that the rear-wheel drive cars are still going to struggle around there. But you've got to remember, Jake, that this will be the first time that we've gone to Thruxton in a long, long time, and everybody's been on zero ballast. So it's going to be because a lot of the cars are, the top cars like the Hondas and the BMWs, they're engineered to carry the maximum ballast for a race win. So what I'm saying there is they won't ever have it in their simulator to go there with 0 kilos. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly.
I still think it's a front wheel drive track, and I do think that you're going to see a battle royale between Josh Cook and probably Gordon Shedden. And I think Plato might get in on the act as well.
Okay.
I just think there is some drivers in rear-wheel drive cars that will just be wanting to come away from Thruxton with good points and a couple of podiums, maybe.
Interesting. And of course, we've had the recent news that Michael Creasy is out of a seat at BTC just a few days before the start of the season. Now, that is a big disappointment. Creasy is a very popular guy, and I've got all the time in the world for him. But not only does it mean, we're not going to see him at Thruxton, but who's going to replace him in that car? Have we got time to put anyone in that car for the first round?
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting situation that's arose there. I've spoken to Creasy briefly, and it's not for me to personally prod him on what's gone on as a friend. I'm waiting to be professional about it and see what's gone on and ask him the proper questions. But I don't know who is going to be in that car. I really don't. Do they try to sell the TBL to Team Dynamics? To get Matt Neal in the car, that third license that they needed to run Matt Neal? I don't think so. I think that ship has sailed. I don't think there's the money to do it. That's only my personal opinion on that. So I honestly don't know what's going on, but you've got to remember that there's a Senna Proctor kicking about.
There is.
There's a Bobby Thompson kicking about. But do these drivers have the backing to actually pin it down? And I don't think they have, because it's not cheap to run a BTC Honda by all accounts. So no. I'm not sure what you're going to see there, mate. I if I knew and if I thought, I would tell you, and I honestly don't know. I can't see them just parking that car up and leaving it. That it just doesn't make financial sense. But at the same time, if I was Josh Cook and Jade Edwards, I'd be a bit selfish and think, well, Creasy was part of the team. I would rather be just me and Jade or me and Josh, just because they know what they've got then. And running two cars is a lot easier than running three. But the other thing I'd like to say on that, Jake, is that it's a horrible situation, mate, because there'll be people that have lost their jobs over that.
Of course.
And I know that some people probably think that, mechanics just turn up of a weekend and help out. They do. But there's people who really rely on that money, mate. So I do hope that they have somebody that they can put in the car, just not for the touring car's sake, but just for the sake of people's jobs, mate. And that's what I feel anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the core issue. We really hope everybody at BTC Racing is okay, is managing with the situation, and we'll obviously get to see that third car filled with someone with the longevity to last the season and to keep those people in gainful employment. That is a core issue. Right, so we've talked touring cars. Obviously, the Toka Paddock is not just the BTCC, and that's what this show is very much going to be about, because obviously you're on commentary duty for a lot in the Toka Paddock this year. Porsche Carrera Cup UK, Dan Camish is back. Now, that is going to be very exciting, because obviously he was the dominant force before he came into British touring cars. Is this going to be Dan Camish versus Harry King in 2021, or is there a lot more to this than meets the eye, do you think?
Do you know what? I remember, I think I upset people at Porsche, actually, because
Oh, really?
Me and Steve Ryder were chatting, and I just basically said, Carrera Cup pre-Harry King, and this is no disrespect to any of the other drivers that have won it or been in it, but there was no overtaking. There was hardly anything went on. And I've raced them cars for Porsche Carrera Cup in Porsche Carrera Cup GB in 2006 and 8, I think, as the guest driver. And I cannot tell you how amazing those cars are. It's probably one of the best race cars I've ever driven. And what they're like now, I don't know. They must be unreal to drive. But it was always difficult to overtake. Or that's what people said. And I remember being at Alton, and I overtook about 4 or 5 people. And I was thinking, why does everyone always say Porsche Carrera Cup's boring? I was lunging everyone at the Lodge corner and the first corner going into Old Hall. And then when Harry King turns up, after everyone says it's boring and it's a procession, everyone's watching it. It was like one of the best races of the weekend whenever Harry King was in it. And I do think, going back to your question, I think it will be, a question of will it be Dan Camish or will it be Harry King? But I think because of that, there's going to be some real tight battles. Dan Camish will not want Harry King making him look ordinary. And Harry King will not want Dan Camish coming back in and whipping his title away. So, there's other good drivers in that championship. Lorcan Hannafin looks like he's pretty much on fire. Those kind of kids. This is brilliant for them because there's no pressure on them. No one's talking about them. So for me, I'd be like, nice one. Well, let's them crash into each other. If I can get near them, then I look like a legend as well. So there's a lot of great things to be taken from that battle. But I, for one, will be again glued to the TV screen because that is Battle Royale, and that is going to be worth a lot of money, that battle, because whoever wins for me will be into, doing some mega things with Porsche. So yeah, be really good.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a great connection to the Mobile One Porsche Super Cup, which is on the Grand Prix bill, of course, and obviously towards doing potential races in World GTs on the main stage, possibly even in WEC. It leads to big things if you get an opportunity and if you showcase your skill. I personally love Carrera Cup, wherever it is in the world, but certainly in the UK, because you've got a lot of drivers who are willing to get their elbows out and get stuck in. And that's what I really like about racing in the Carrera Cup UK in this country. Mini Challenge is going to Thruxton, having already had around this season. Matthew Hammond is currently leading the title race after his win. There was a win as well for Lee Pearce, but there were 6 different podium finishers at Snetterton across the 2 races. We're coming to Thruxton. I guess it's still so close to call at this stage, Paul, because it's just so open, this championship, and it's already becoming very popular on the Toka package.
Oh, well, it didn't take long, did it, to become popular on the Toka?
No.
I mean, me and Richard John Neal, we actually applied for a pay rise after the first ones we seen.
I wonder if you got it. I wonder if you got it.
No, we didn't. But you know what it was like? It was like someone had gone. I remember when they started at the first race we seen, and I remember thinking, that looks like someone has just bought one of those bags of Skittles in the cinema and just opened them and thrown them all over the counter. They were everywhere, and people. There was some of the driving was quite exuberant, and I think that they did, steady themselves down. But we had a huge accident at Thruxton as well, at the chicane, and one of the cars caught fire. But yeah, it's just all action. And if you ask me who you think, who would win the championship, I couldn't tell you. I honestly couldn't tell you, because there's that many good drivers in it. And the cars are based on momentum, and they're not particularly powerful, but they are a fantastic way to go racing and try and get into a front wheel drive or rear wheel drive touring car. They're just great. And I'm so happy and looking forward to commentating on them. It's just great when you can tell a story that just is telling itself. It's fantastic, mate.
Absolutely. It's not going to be a bad job at the office, is it? Commentating for Mini Challenge UK. You're going to have so much fun. Obviously, we will meet a lot of these drivers in Bosch Carrera Cup and Mini Challenge, and of course in the Ginettas and F4 over the course of the season as well. I wanted to quickly bring up Ginetta Super Cup, because you've got a race of 2 halves in the Ginetta Super Cup, haven't you? You've got the likes of Josh Radican, Blake Anglis, Adam Smalley, these talented British drivers that have come out of karting and are now straight in there at Super Cup with a lot of strength. And then you've got people like Colin White versus Stuart Lyons. I mean, this is going to be an amazing season where you've got so much banter off circuit and on circuit simultaneously.
Yeah, and you know what you've also got as well, mate? You've got Nikki Lyons, who's Stuart's wife, who used to text me all the way through commentary saying, "Stop being horrible to my Stuart."
It's not going to stop, is it?
No, of course it's not. You listen, you prod me, mate, and I'm like one of them log burners. I'll get even more fiery. But no, Stu's a champion now, and he did a great job last year. Colin White, I absolutely adore that fella. If I'm still racing when I'm his age, fella, I'll be made up. He goes at it hard. He has the things sliding. He's happy to be there. But then, like you say, the cameras then switch from that battle in that class, and it switches to the front of the Super Cup, and you've got some proper people going.
Oh, absolutely.
And a lot of them come through the Ginetta ladder, and I've got to say that what Ginetta do is absolutely fantastic. There's not one place that you can't race. If you're a pro, a novice, someone who's just got their ARDS license, a kid, an old man, an old woman, you can go and you can just pick something off the board, and there's not many manufacturers that really have that in the locker. Because Lawrence Tomlinson's done a brilliant job. I've got to say that. It was fantastic. So really looking forward to GT4 Super Cup. It's there's a lot of around the outside manoeuvres in that championship, and the cars sound great. They're fast and they're light and they're just great.
Absolutely. And we've also got the new kids on the block to look forward to this year. Ginetta Jr. and British F4. So many stars that you're going to get to meet. Some that you're going to see returning again in Ginetta Jr., the likes of Will Jenkins, Tom Edgar, Freddie Tomlinson, Liam McNeely, Aston Miller, who was so strong last year in their first campaign. Now they get to really go for it, hammer and tongs for the title. In F4, you've got the potential for Abby Pulling to go for the title this time. Georgie Dimitrov and James Headley are going to be strong. You've got Joe Loke, who's now in from Fiesta Juniors to go from touring cars to single seaters. That's an amazing story. And there's so many young karters coming in from Ginetta Jr. and British F4 this year. You've got drivers that I've been watching since they were 9 years old. People like Robert DeHaan, Max Dodds, Maximus Hall, Josh Rowledge, Callum Voisin, Dougie Bolger, Oliver Gray, to Zanapol Interfivazak. I'm looking forward to seeing how the F4 guys get that one in commentary. Kai Askey, Marcus Flack, Zach Meakin, all these incredible new stars that you're going to get to meet. Morris Henry, who won the scholarship along with Robert DeHaan. These are the races that really give us new TV stars to watch. And it's going to be epic in 2021 because I think there's an impetus this year, Paul, to get out there, knowing that we've got a full campaign, a full season ahead of us. And these guys have been itching to go racing for so long.
Yeah, definitely. And do you know what I love about all those names that you've said? A lot of them have come from Ginetta Juniors. And not just that, but I was watching some live stuff today on Fiesta Juniors, and that championship, I've got a lot of time for that championship. They do as much as they can for the kids who haven't got maybe the budget that can go and race Ginetta Juniors. But the Formula 4 paddock is looking strong, isn't it? I must admit, I was speaking to Ed from Elite Motorsport. I believe they've got Tom Leben, haven't they? So actually, no, he's in Formula 3.
He has got across to Formula 3, yeah.
So there's so many different kids' names that I've seen and commentated on. They're all in these single seaters now. So it's gonna be so interesting to see how they all get on. But like you say, I think it's brilliant what ITV4 do because they give these youngsters such a fantastic platform. To showcase their talents on, and it's great. And hopefully as we see how the pandemic goes. But it would be great to see if we can get those face masks off and see those beaming smiles of those youngsters, because I've been so impressed by how the youngsters have actually got on with, this pandemic and the racing. They're just little pros, mate. And if I ever had any kids, I'd love to see them race because it's so rewarding instead of just hanging around a bus shelter and going to abuse those people. I just think it's a great thing, and their parents have to be called out and commended for sticking with them and making British motorsport what it is, and that's fantastic. Right. So it really is, mate.
It's fantastic. We are looking forward to the start of the season next week at Thruxton. Myself and Paul, we will be there grabbing interviews. It'll probably take 2 episodes to get through everybody we're going to talk to, but you'll hear all of the content from the touring cars all the way down to the juniors here on Downforce Radio from episode 2 of The Undercut. We'll be there and we'll grab lots of great action for you. Send us your questions as well to Paul O'Neill, and next week at the end of the show, he will answer as many as he is legally allowed to do so. Of course, any requests for Spice Girls tickets will be duly burned as usual. That is against the rules, and you all know that. That is absolutely statutory. Look forward to the Thruxton British Touring Car Weekend. It's going to be absolutely sensational. Paul O'Neill, thank you so much for joining me on episode 1 of The Undercut, mate. Looking forward to hearing your vocals in action, mate.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Nice one. Thanks for having us, Jake, and I'll see you at Thruxton, Captain.
See you all at Thruxton.